Jeep. It is perhaps one of the strongest brands in the automotive world, Chrysler's top-selling brand, and it inspires a rare sort of cult-like devotion other automakers would kill for.
For years, Jeep fans have begged for it, and now it's here. Jeep just unveiled the 5.7-liter Hemi Gladiator, and it's everything the midsize truck world never knew it needed. If you've missed this announcement, you're already behind the curve. Remember when everyone said a V8 Gladiator was a pipe dream? Well, Jeep didn't just make it happen, they made it better than you could have imagined. A game-changing engine, a shockingly low price, and a performance level that leaves the competition struggling to keep up. So, what do you want in your truck? Power, performance, or the freedom to do it all without compromise? Jeep just delivered, and we're about to show you exactly why it matters. The V8 they said would never happen. The 5.7-liter Hemi Gladiator has officially been unveiled, and it's everything the community has been begging for since the model first launched in 2020. Jeep didn't just check the box, they lit it on fire. This wasn't just a new powertrain, it was a reckoning. Gladiator owners have hacked, swapped, and begged for a V8, often turning to aftermarket shops for pricey and unofficial conversions. Jeep and Dodge already had the Hemi in their arsenal. The platform compatibility was always there. The only thing missing was the company's will, until now. The announcement landed like a shot across the bow of the midsize truck segment. Every off-roader, overlander, and weekend hauler who had settled for the 3.6-liter V6 or short-lived diesel now had a clear upgrade path. No more compromise, no more waiting. Jeep listened and delivered. What makes this moment even more powerful is that it didn't come from a press release. It came from a rumble under the hood and the collective roar of a fan base finally being heard. But Jeep wasn't just offering vindication. It was about to offer domination. Hold up, before we go any deeper, I need to hear from you. Would you choose this Hemi Gladiator over the Tacoma? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this already has you grinning, smash that like button so more people find out what just happened. Towing just got personal. Numbers don't lie, and the numbers coming out of the 5.7-liter Gladiator are bruising Toyota's ego in a way that's hard to ignore. The midsize truck market has long been defined by compromise. Solid fuel economy meant lower torque, and rugged capability meant bloated pricing. Not anymore. Jeep's Hemi-powered Gladiator just pulled ahead in the one category that truly matters to truck owners: real-world capability. With a towing capacity that flirts with 6,000 pounds and torque delivery that feels nearly instantaneous, this Gladiator doesn't just tow, it commands. Tacoma, with its max towing capacity hovering around 6,500 pounds on paper, might look competitive, but off paper, in the real world, hooked up to a loaded trailer, climbing switchbacks, or crossing state lines, it's a different story. The Hemi delivers confidence where the Tacoma delivers strain, and it's not just towing. Payload numbers and off-the-line torque are hitting new benchmarks, giving Gladiator owners the kind of utility previously reserved for full-size trucks. This isn't just a step forward, it's a leap over the fence Toyota built to define the segment. For the first time in decades, the word best in midsize capability doesn't start with a T, it starts with Jeep. But performance isn't just numbers on paper, it's what happens when your foot hits the floor and the road answers back. Torque meets thunder the first time you put your foot down in the 5.7-liter Gladiator. It's not just acceleration, it's elevation. 425 horsepower erupts beneath your feet like a mechanical avalanche, but it never feels wild. Instead, it feels controlled, calibrated, ready. Jeep didn't just drop a big motor in and call it a day. They engineered the experience to be unlike anything else in the midsize class. Forget 0 to 60 bragging rights for a second. What the Hemi Gladiator delivers is usable muscle. It's the kind of thrust that lets you merge at speed with a full load in the bed, or muscle up a muddy incline without spiking your RPMs into the red. Power isn't just about thrill, it's about trust. And this engine earns it, gear after gear. The 8-speed transmission shifts so smoothly it's almost invisible, and yet, when you need it to kick down, it snaps to attention. This is the kind of drivetrain harmony that separates muscle from mayhem. Even on 37-inch tires, the Gladiator feels planted, predictable, and purposeful. Tacoma has never offered this kind of thrill, not even close. Toyota's turbocharged 4-cylinder might be efficient, but it lacks presence. Jeep's Hemi doesn't just announce itself, it defines the conversation. But here's the real surprise. All this thunder doesn't mean chaos on the highway. Highway tamed, off-road unleashed. You'd think a truck pushing over 400 horsepower would behave like a wild stallion at highway speeds. But here's the shocker. It's calm, controlled, even refined. The same engine that bellows under throttle settles into a quiet rhythm at 70 miles per hour. thanks to the beautifully tuned 8-speed transmission and powertrain mapping that favors both economy and serenity. Inside the cabin, it's not a roar, it's a pulse. The Hemi hums below the surface, barely intruding unless you ask it to. The result? A Gladiator that doesn't wear you down on long drives. In fact, it rewards you. This is what separates a great engine from a gimmick. The 5.7-liter Hemi is not just a torque machine. It's a traveler. And yes, fuel economy is better than expected. The gearing and aerodynamics help stretch each gallon further than you'd guess for a V8. Off-road, the power shows a different face. Smooth delivery, low-end grunt, and predictable throttle input make for an ideal trail rig. Add the tuned lift, beefed suspension, and 37-inch tires, and you've got a weaponized overlander ready for anything. Jeep didn't just tame the Hemi, they taught it manners. And just when the world thought mid-size trucks had peaked, this one quietly upended the category. But if this sounds like the end of the story, think again, because what comes next won't just shake the road. It'll shake the market. The $39,000 shock. When the 5.7-liter Hemi Gladiator hit the market with a conversion price just under $40,000, jaws didn't just drop, they shattered. For years, V8 power was considered a luxury tier, reserved for six-figure builds or factory Rubicon 392s, tipping past $109,000. But now, Jeep just handed out muscle truck status for a fraction of the price. It was the equivalent of dropping a bomb in a showroom. And that number, $39,995, was not just a figure, it was a threat. It undercut bloated pricing from not only Toyota, but also from within Jeep's own lineup. The Rubicon 392, long the pinnacle of Jeep bragging rights, suddenly felt overpriced. Tacoma's most equipped TRD Pro variants, struggling to justify themselves next to a Hemi-powered Gladiator with more torque, more capability, and far more excitement. What made it even more disruptive was how normal the Gladiator looked. This wasn't a SEMA-only Frankenstein. It had stock appearance, factory controls, and off-the-lot manners. And with dealer and financing options streamlining the build process, the question shifted from, can I afford it, to why would I pay more for less? Still, cost alone doesn't win loyalty. For that, a truck needs to prove it can do everything and more. One truck to rule work and weekend. The 5.7-liter Gladiator doesn't just check a box. It breaks the checklist. For workers who haul gear during the week and chase trails on the weekends, this truck answers both calls without compromise. It has the heart of a muscle truck, the frame of a hauler, and the attitude of an off-road brawler. This isn't a niche vehicle, it's a mission-capable platform with style. Unlike other mid-size pickups, which often force buyers into choosing either form or function, the Hemi Gladiator brings both to the table. Its payload matches work needs, its towing is ready for real trailers, and yet it still brings customizability and flair. Paint-matched roof and fenders? Check. Performance lift kit? Included. Off-road tires? Installed and balanced? It is, in every sense, a ready-made solution to a fragmented truck market. And then there's the interior comfort. Heated seats, remote start, full tech suite. The Gladiator is not just about what happens outside the cab. It reclaims what mid-size trucks have lacked for years: identity. Buyers aren't forced into stripped-down tools or overpriced trims. They're offered a complete package that looks just as at home at a job site as it does at a trailhead. But when one truck starts doing everything better, it forces tough questions, especially for the drivers who once swore they'd never switch sides. Tacoma fans hit a wall. For 2 decades, Toyota Tacoma has been the undisputed king of the mid-size truck world. Loyalists boasted reliability, resale value, and a reputation built on rugged dependability. But now, for the first time in a generation, that loyalty is under pressure. Jeep's new 5.7-liter Gladiator didn't just outperform, it exposed Tacoma's stagnation, and the backlash is already spilling into forums, showrooms, and dealership waiting rooms. Tacoma fans are watching something rare: identity erosion. When your truck is no longer the most capable, the most powerful, or even the most fun, what do you stand for? Online threads once full of pride are now littered with comparisons, buyer remorse, and quiet admissions that Jeep has finally outclassed the segment. One post read, "I didn't want to believe it, but my buddy's Gladiator just made mine feel like a rental." That's the danger when a brand coasts on reputation. Toyota's slow evolution and focus on incremental improvements have finally caught up with them. Gladiator didn't wait, it jumped ahead. And now, Tacoma owners are stuck in a kind of emotional purgatory. They love what they've always loved, but something better has arrived. And it's not just a little better, it's transformative. But Toyota isn't retreating. In fact, behind the scenes, they've already begun their counteroffensive. Toyota's quiet counterstrike? While Jeep roared onto the scene with a Hemi and headlines, Toyota is playing a different game. Silent, strategic, and calculated. Enter the iForce Max Hybrid, a twin-turbocharged, battery-boosted powertrain that promises up to 326 horsepower with improved fuel efficiency and lower emissions. It is, on paper, everything the market says it wants. Quiet power, future-ready engineering, lower environmental footprint. But will it be enough? That's the question Toyota now faces. The iForce Max is undeniably advanced. Its torque delivery is instant, and its throttle response is tight. But for buyers craving the mechanical soul of a V8, no battery can replace the thunder of a naturally aspirated Hemi. Emotion matters, and while Toyota is banking on evolution, Jeep just won a generation with rebellion. Still, Toyota's move is not without merit. For government fleet contracts, urban buyers, and international markets where emission standards are tightening fast, the iForce Max may win by default. It doesn't need to outshine the Hemi. It just needs to outlast it. And Toyota knows how to play the long game. The midsize truck war is no longer just a horsepower battle. It's a cultural shift. Analog muscle versus digital precision. And that tension is about to spill into every dealership in the country. Sold out in 72 hours. The moment Jeep dropped the news about the 5.7-liter Hemi Gladiator, something rare happened. Dealership phones began ringing before the trucks even arrived. Within 72 hours of the first confirmed units landing at select showrooms, inventory boards were wiped clean. It was not a slow burn, it was a stampede. In some regions, not a single Hemi-equipped Gladiator lasted longer than a weekend on the lot. Buyers weren't browsing, they were committing. Deposits were being placed over the phone, in some cases, sight unseen. For many Jeep fans and pickup converts alike, the equation was simple. Power, prestige, and practicality all rolled into one, at a price that felt like a dare. The aftermarket had created demand, but now that the option was dealer-backed and warrantied, the lines formed fast. Sales managers described the surge as unlike anything they had seen since the early days of the Wrangler 392. But this was different. The Hemi Gladiator hit a broader audience. Truck owners who had never touched a Jeep before, and loyalists who had waited years for a true V8 in a midsize frame. But as fast as the trucks moved, frustration began to mount. Buyers wanted more, faster. Dealers couldn't restock fast enough, and that shortage, it set the stage for a new kind of buyer strategy, one rooted in finance. Financing the dream truck. When you walk into a dealership to buy a truck with a V8 engine, a lift kit, 37-inch tires, and a factory-grade warranty, you expect one thing, a painful price tag. But the 5.7-liter Gladiator didn't just challenge performance norms, it reinvented the payment model. By packaging the build, the conversion, and the upgrade into a single point-of-sale transaction, buyers found themselves walking out with everything they wanted and one consolidated payment plan. Financing departments saw the trend immediately. Instead of piecemeal upgrades over time, buyers were opting into full Hemi conversions from the start, treating the vehicle like a complete product, not a work in progress. And because companies like America's Most Wanted 4x4 offered direct-to-installer delivery, the trucks didn't just arrive built, they arrived ready. Some dealerships began offering Gladiators pre-converted with Adventure Series packages baked into the sticker price. Others encouraged buyers to order their own configurations through affiliate programs, then fold the costs into their financing. Suddenly, a fully customized Hemi Gladiator felt not just possible, but attainable. It was a game changer. Buyers weren't hesitating, they were upgrading. Because why settle for base when you could get bold with a payment plan only slightly above stock? But not every part of the system was keeping up, especially the service phase. Repair shops on red alert. Behind the glossy showroom floors and viral test drives, a different kind of pressure was building. Inside the service departments, the 5.7-liter Gladiator wasn't just a new product, it was a new responsibility, and many dealership technicians were caught off guard, not because they doubted the build quality, but because they weren't trained or equipped for it. The Hemi swaps used Mopar parts and followed clean install practices, but they still introduced complexity. Power steering systems were upgraded, transmission calibrations changed, cooling components were tuned to handle serious loads. While Jeep owners were loving the performance, service advisors were staring at unfamiliar diagrams and calling up specialists. Independent mechanics faced an even steeper climb. Without direct access to America's Most Wanted 4x4 resources, diagnostics took longer. Replacement parts had longer lead times, and in some cases, techs had to unlearn standard Gladiator service logic to accommodate the upgraded internals. The result? A growing anxiety within the support ecosystem. It was not about breakdowns, it was about readiness. When a customer pays nearly $80,000 for a turnkey monster, they expect 5-star support, not a guessing game. Dealers are now now fast-tracking technician training and allocating separate bays for high-spec conversions. But while some shops scramble, the bigger story is unfolding beyond the garage, out in America's smaller towns. Small towns, big torque. Walk into a Jeep dealership in a small Midwestern or Southern town today, and you might find something surprising. Not just one, but several 5.7-liter Gladiators parked out front, already sold and awaiting delivery. These are not collector trucks or off-road toys. They are family haulers, contractor rigs, and cross-state workhorses that now represent something bigger than transportation. They are economic sparks. For local installers, tire shops, and alignment bays, the arrival of V8 Gladiators has meant one thing: business. Customers are coming in for recalibration, accessory tuning, and personalized upgrades. Jobs are being created, cash is circulating, and for dealerships that were once overlooked in manufacturer allocation waves, the Gladiator has become a beacon of relevance. Local economies that depend on vehicle-based labor, plumbers, ranchers, surveyors, are embracing the Hemi not as a luxury, but as a reliable tool that happens to have a growl. Financing partners in these areas are also more willing to back the investment. As one dealer put it, people aren't buying toys, they're buying machines that work Monday through Friday and thrill on Saturday. National media might focus on the urban EV boom or Silicon Valley's self-driving obsession. But in the real America, where terrain is rough, distance matters, and torque still rules, the 5.7-liter Gladiator is already a cornerstone. And the rest of the industry? They are starting to take notice. Ford and Chevy flinch. The moment the 5.7-liter Hemi Gladiator hit showroom floors, executives at Ford and General Motors stopped smiling. For decades, they had comfortably ruled the high-performance truck space, while the mid-size segment was left to Toyota and its slow, steady Tacoma dominance. But Jeep's bold move forced a recalibration. This wasn't just another trim package or minor refresh. It was a full-scale assault on legacy positioning, and it came from a company most of them didn't see as a direct threat. The urgency became obvious when leaked dealer memos from both Ford and Chevy started circulating. Discussions about enhanced mid-size offerings, performance rebalancing, and responding to segment disruption all pointed to one thing: the Gladiator Hemi had shaken the industry. Chevy's Colorado ZR2 and Ford's upcoming Ranger Raptor had already generated some buzz, but now they looked underpowered and overpriced next to Jeep's V8 Warrior. More importantly, this wasn't just about horsepower, it was about psychology. Jeep had proven that buyers were no longer satisfied with efficiency alone. They wanted emotion, rumble, and real-world utility. Now every brand with a stake in the midsize category is back at the drawing board, scrambling to meet expectations they never thought they'd have to address. But while automakers pivot, another power is stepping in to reshape the rules, and it's coming from Capitol Hill. Fuel rules just got political. The 5.7-liter Gladiator didn't just cause a stir in the marketplace, it lit a fire under regulators. Within weeks of its formal launch, lawmakers and advocacy groups began raising red flags about emissions, fuel standards, and the environmental optics of putting a V8 engine into what many assumed was an eco-truck category. Suddenly, the mid-size segment wasn't just a battleground for torque and towing, it became a political flashpoint. Congressional committees are already entertaining early-stage hearings on fuel efficiency compliance, particularly in the wake of rising federal emissions targets. And while no bill directly names Jeep, insiders say the Gladiator's release was the tipping point behind renewed scrutiny of conversion-friendly builds that push the envelope on regulatory thresholds. Environmental watchdog groups have launched campaigns suggesting that automakers are using loopholes to deliver big engine performance under the radar. In response, Jeep has emphasized the use of modern emission systems and compliance testing through Mopar-certified components. But that has not stopped the rhetoric. The real controversy? Voter reaction. In rural and working-class districts, the Hemi Gladiator is being celebrated as a return to power and freedom. In coastal cities and climate-conscious communities, it's being treated like a step backward, and that divide is only growing. Meanwhile, investors are watching closely because they know disruption always leaves a mark. Wall Street watches. Jeep is not a stock ticker, but Stellantis is. And the parent company's bold decision to unleash a V8-powered midsize truck has caught the full attention of Wall Street. Within days of the announcement, analysts issued mixed reports, some heralding it as a stroke of branding genius, others warning of potential regulatory headwinds and production strain. Stellantis stock saw a modest uptick in trading volume during the first week of Hemi Gladiator orders. That alone wasn't groundbreaking. What mattered more was the signal. Institutional investors recognized the move as more than a flash-in-the-pan marketing stunt. This was strategic positioning in a post-loyalty market, where buyers reward companies that act boldly, even if it ruffles feathers. But with every bold move comes caution. Some investment firms began quietly shifting expectations for Toyota's North American truck share, citing potential midterm losses in their midsize sector. Others raised flags about how Ford and Chevy might need to increase incentives to hold ground. In short, Jeep didn't just sell a truck, it made a dent in confidence forecasts. The Gladiator Hemi revealed a truth Wall Street had long underestimated. The emotion of ownership still matters, and now, companies that play it safe may pay the price. But beyond markets and politics, there's one more place this truck is rewriting the rules: your driveway. If this video just flipped your truck loyalty upside down, hit subscribe. Because what Jeep just did? That's only the beginning, and we're not letting any of it slide past you. You just took the wheel. This story was never just about torquey curves, trim packages, or stock valuations. At its core, the rise of the 5.7-liter Gladiator is about you, the buyer, the driver, the dreamer behind the wheel. Because for the first time in years, a truck wasn't designed by committee, filtered through surveys, or softened for mass appeal. It was built because people demanded it, and that changes everything. You shaped this outcome. Your comments, your conversions, your forum posts, and your persistent belief that Jeep could build something bolder. Those weren't ignored. They were delivered in steel and horsepower. That's not marketing fluff, that's momentum. It proves that consumer influence, when unified, can bend even the most stubborn product roadmaps. Now, automakers are watching you more closely than ever. Every click, every configuration, every message online is now a data point for what comes next. And while this might sound like a tech company strategy, it's already happening in the truck world. You are no longer just a customer. You are a contributor to the next chapter of vehicle design. So when you hear that Hemi rumble down the street or see that lifted Gladiator climb through town, remember, you helped make that possible, and what comes after, that's your road to shape. This wasn't just a truck drop, it was a turning point. Jeep listened when nobody else would. They gave the people power, torque, and choice. And if that woke something up in you, don't just watch from the sidelines. Subscribe now, because this channel doesn't just chase trends, we chase the truth behind the machines that move us. Comment below. Would you take the 5.7 over anything Toyota's building? And if you felt that rumble in your chest, hit like. Share this with someone who's still clinging to their Tacoma. And remember, the future of trucks isn't quiet. It's loud, it's 5.8, and it's finally here.